Good morning, class. Today we are going to read a few more pages in our book, Rats Around Us. You can find the book in our Google Classroom on the bottom shelf. Today we will be reading pages 12 through 15, family tree and anatomy lesson. When we are finished, we will be working on a page of language usage, which you will find in the Google Classroom assignments, and you will have a separate video for that. Let's go ahead and get started. Family tree. All living things are grouped into different categories that describe things such as what an animal looks like and how they act. These groupings help scientists to figure out how different animals are related and how they evolved over time. Carl Linnaeus. Animals are identified and named according to a system of classification that was first developed over 300 years ago. The man who created the system is Carl Linnaeus, a nature-loving Swedish scientist. In 1738, Linnaeus published a book called Systema Naturae, in which he named and described many different species of plants. In the 1740s, he began classifying animals too. His system of naming and describing living things is now known as taxonomy. We can see a picture of Carl Linnaeus over here. The system Carl Linnaeus set up has been altered over time to be more accurate. Kingdom, phylum, and class. Linnaeus' system grouped all living things into 3 different kingdoms. In the United States, most scientists now accept 6 different kingdoms of living things. They are Animalia, Plantae, Fungi, Protista, Archaea, and Bacteria. These kingdoms are then divided into phyla, which describes a basic body structure of a living thing. For example, worms and birds belong to different phyla because their bodies are designed differently. Living things are then broken up into smaller groupings, first by class, then by order, family, genus, and species. All right, let's go back and think about these 6 different kingdoms. We had Animalia, Plantae, Fungi, Protista, Archaea, and Bacteria. Which of these kingdoms do you think humans would fit into? Let's continue. Rodentia. Rats belong to a class of animals called Mammalia, which means that they are warm-blooded and give birth to live young rather than lay eggs. The order Rodentia includes about 2,300 different species. Rodentia includes rats, mice, squirrels, beavers, guinea pigs, voles, and porcupines. Muridae and Rattus. Muridae is a family of mammals that include rats, mice, and gerbils. It is the largest family of mammals, with about 600 different species. The genus Rattus includes about 300 different species of rats. There are only 2 species of commensal rats, or rats that live among people, Rattus rattus and Rattus norvegicus. And if we see up here, the only characteristic that all rodents have in common is that they have 2 long, sharp teeth called incisors. They use these teeth to bite, rip, and gnaw. So like rats, beavers are rodents. And we see a picture of a beaver up here. Lab and pet rats. Albino, or white rats, are gentler domesticated rats that are close relatives of Rattus norvegicus. Scientist Henry Donaldson first bred these rats in 1906. Dr. Donaldson wanted to create a species that could be kept in cages and would be less prone to biting handlers. It was important that these rats were standardized, or all the same, to make experiments performed on them more accurate. Today, these tamer rats are also bred as pets. They have smaller brains, livers, kidneys, and other vital organs, including smaller adrenal glands, which are responsible for making wild animals feisty. And we have a picture of a lab rat here in a cage. This would be an albino rat. Lab rats were bred to be calm for life in cages. So, question about this part of it when we talk about lab rats. Why is it that all the rats need to be the same in an experiment? Okay, let's look at the next section. Anatomy lesson. Rats have 2 small beady eyes. They can only see about 4 feet in front of them, but they can detect movement about 50 feet away. To make up for their poor eyesight, rats have heightened senses of smell, taste, touch, and hearing. What? Thigmophilia, of course. This is a big word that means the love of touching. And rats are among the biggest thigmophilists in the world. They like to feel their way around things using their bodies. Rats' bodies are covered with thin, waterproof hairs that they brush along surfaces as they scurry from place to place. Their long, wiry whiskers help them detect things in their path, preventing them from bumping into walls in the depths of sewers and other dark places. Glands that are buried under the skin secrete oil, which they use to mark their territory and help them navigate familiar routes. We can see up here, it gives us some extra information. It says flexible bones also make it easier for rats to survive blows and falls and still land on their feet. So they land on their feet a lot like cats might. And I can make a comparison here as far as them having these poor eyesight, but still being able to use the rest of their senses. We can say the same thing about blind people. They depend on their sense of hearing and their sense of touch to get around. And I think we saw that with Mrs. Partridge in our Walk to Moons book. She had some heightened senses. She could tell when Phoebe and Sale were there, and she could tell what they were doing when they were at her house, even though she couldn't see them. Okay, let's look at the next page. Okay, on this page we have some labeled body parts, and it tells which each body part does. So it gives us facts and then arrows to go to the picture that it's related to. And speaking of anatomy, in case you didn't catch it, the title was Anatomy Lesson. So anatomy is the study of the different parts of the body and how they work together. So that's a pretty good subtitle for this section. All right, so body parts. Up here it says rats communicate to each other by chattering their teeth. Rats have small, thin, tulip-shaped ears that are lined with hundreds of sensitive hairs. Rats can detect 2.5 times as many sounds as humans. Rats have flexible skeletons that can easily compress and expand. This allows them to squeeze through a space as tiny as a quarter. Rats are also equipped with different kinds of teeth for eating and gnawing. Molars at the sides of the jaw ground food into tiny pieces that can be swallowed, while the sharp incisors that hang in front of the lower jaw are used to rip and gnaw. Rats' tails help control body temperature. When rats are too warm, their tail expands and blood flow increases, allowing heat to escape. The tail returns to its regular size when the rat has cooled off. And then a description on this bottom picture. Rats have 2 sets of legs and feet. The hind feet have 5 toes and are much longer and more powerful than the forefeet. Hind feet help rats run and scale the sides of buildings. The forefeet, over here, are smaller feet that have 4 flexible toes and claws that can be used to grab and hold food while eating. Okay, and that's the end of our section today. So you'll want to close this video, go back into the assignment and open part 2 along with the assignment, and you'll be completing the assignment as you watch the video for part 2. I'll see you there.